Hello everybody, my name is Robert Killens. I'm going to walk you through a quick example of how to calculate the payback period with the BAII Plus. So let's jump right into the example and we'll see how we can calculate that using the calculator here. So here's the payback period. Here's our example that we're going to use. Okay, so we have an initial capital outflow for a project of $30 million, followed by 4 positive cash inflows, in which you can see are 14, 12, 17, and 12 respectively over the next 4 years. And we're going to use a discount rate or our cost of capital of 5%. So let's bring up the calculator here and see how we can enter some of these numbers here to get to the payback period. So we're going to use again this cash flow input here and the NPV input to calculate these two things. So the first thing we can click on is that cash flow function. This should come up to say CF equals 0. If it does not, or even if it does, the best practice that you should always partake in when you're entering cash flows into the calculator, always clear that originally. So second clear work. This is going to clear any stored cash flows that you may have in your calculator beforehand. So once you've done that, you can start entering your cash flows. So our first one is negative $30 million. Again, negative, this is a cash outflow here. Okay, so we have $30 million in cash flow, 0. In cash flow number 1, we have 14 million. Okay, so this is positive, 14 million positive. Again, a frequency F01, this only happens once. Cash flow number 2 is 12 million. Again, positive, enter, down. Again, frequency of that second cash flow happens once. Cash flow number 3, 17 million, enter. Again, frequency, this only happens once. And cash flow number 4 is going to be the 12 million, and this is going to happen once again. Okay, so we have all our cash flow stored within our calculator. We can come out of that cash flow function there. And then the next function we're going to go into is the NPV function. So you press NPV. Okay, similar to our NPV example that we have done before. This is going to ask you what our cost of capital for a project is. And this isn't a requirement for the payback period, but it is a requirement for the discounted payback period, right? With discounted payback period, we're going to discount those cash flows back and then calculate the payback period. So we're going to enter our 5%, which we have down here for our cost of capital or our discount rate. If we hit the down arrow, you're going to come to NPV. Okay, I want to compute that real quick as we had done in a previous example. You can just compute that. You can see that the NPV of this project is in fact positive, right, of 18.77 million. Hit the down arrow again. This NFV is net future value. Okay, so this does the exact similar thing to what NPV does, but now we're taking all those cash flows here, right, and we're pushing them all into the future value at time period 4, and then summing those all together. Okay, and so if we computed the end future value, just for the example, we could see that the net future value is 22.82, again positive, different from the net present value because again we would have discounted those back. But that's an example of NFV. That's not what we want to get here. We're still trying to get to the payback period, and so here's your payback period. Okay, PB is your payback period. If we want to compute the payback period, in which we're trying to do for the example, we know that this payback period is probably going to happen somewhere between years 2 and 3. Right, just by looking at 14, 12, this is going to sum to 26, and then plus this 17 million. This payback period is going to happen probably somewhere between 2 and 3. So we should be expecting a number probably in the low 2.3, 2.2 somewhere. If we compute this, we can see that our payback period is equal to 2.235. Okay, so it takes approximately 2.25 years to get paid back on this project, and that's an example of how to calculate the payback period. And that's a simple payback period without discounting any of those cash flows. If we want to get to the discounted payback period, we hit down once more, and here you're going to see DPB. Okay, and this is the discounted payback period. So what is that going to do? Remember, this is going to discount all these cash flows back, right, to the present value, and then recalculate what the payback period is, right? So all these guys are going to be a little bit lower in their present value format. So we should get a number that's a little bit higher than the 2.23. So if we compute that, here's our discounted payback period return with the BAII Plus. Again, we see this 2.39. So marginally higher. It takes approximately another month and a half or so to recoup some of those on a discounted basis. But those are examples of how we can calculate both the payback period and the discounted payback period using the BAII Plus. So we're still using the NPV function here, just scrolling a little bit further in that NPV function. Thanks for watching, and if you have any questions, comments, etc., feel free to leave them below. Thank you.